of business intelligence in GP, and so we'll dig into the meat of the business analyzer here in just a few minutes. So in my eyes, there's really two reasons that we have an ERP solution, and I know that there's like all the operational processing part of it, but really what we're doing is we're trying to be compliant. So there are laws and rules that we need to adhere to within our businesses: GAAP, sales tax, payroll tax, you know, just kind of standard things that we all kind of take for granted. But that's the ERP solution helps you to comply with those rules and regulations. As a result of all of the processing, we also end up with information. We rely on our ERP solution to report the facts, and we want to use those facts to spot and analyze trends. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to make good decisions. And so we're putting all this information into this ERP solution, number one, because we have to, because of the compliance issue, but because we want to get that information back out so that we can use it to make good decisions. Business intelligence is kind of a broad term. It's no one application. There's not one business intelligence solution. This is the Gartner IT glossary. It's an umbrella term that includes applications, infrastructure, and tools and best practices that enable access to an analysis of information to improve and optimize decisions and performance. It gives you access to your information. It's not one thing. It's really a series of practices and strategies that you as an organization develop to provide information out to those who need to use that information to make decisions. Business intelligence and Dynamics GP, these bullet points that you're seeing here, they're only examples, and they're kind of the out-of-the-box things. There are tons of ISV solutions, you know, like Jet Reports or, you know, BI 360, or, you know, there's a big long list. But this is the out-of-the-box stuff that we use for business intelligence. So we use SQL Server reporting services, and we use that for operational reports, as well as those metrics and key performance indicators that really provide us with that business intelligence. The Analysis Cubes application, the connection between a data warehouse and Excel, out of the box with GP, and a lot of people find that really useful to be able to create dashboards and pivot tables and things like that in Excel. There's also our good friend SmartList. That SmartList kind of crosses a line or sits between operational and strategic reports. So, you know, great tool, and, you know, very broad tool that you can use operationally and strategically. Management Reporter, while we think of that more as a financial reporting tool, it's also a business intelligence tool, because we can create those more strategic type reports, analysis reports that allow us to apply decisions. And then Excel, good old Excel, those refreshable Excel reports, the hooks right back into GP. We see Excel a lot here in this particular slide. And then, of course, Business Analyzer. And it was released with GP 2010 Service Pack 2, so it's been out for a little while now. And that kind of took everything to the next level, kind of combined those SSRS reports into one compact solution that you can use and provide out to your users to give them access to that information. So as I mentioned, it's SQL Server reporting services based, and there are almost 200 of those reports, those SSRS-based metrics and key performance indicators that come just out of the box with GP. Because it's SSRS, you can create your own. So you're not limited to what is provided out of the box. You can definitely expand that and make it more personal to your organization. There are 3 different ways to use the Business Analyzer. The first is Business Analyzer Desktop, and that's a separate application that you can use to kind of create a dashboard, combine these charts into a dashboard. You do not have to be a GP user in order to use Business Analyzer Desktop. So these are things that information and a tool that you can provide out to managers, to executives. They can view the information that's relevant to them and act on that information. There's also a web client. I'm not going to show you that today, but it's similar to the GP web client. And then we have a Business Analyzer inside of Dynamics GP, and we'll take a look at that today as well. So let's start off here with Business Analyzer Desktop. So let me get that open. Now I've got this full screen just because I think it's probably easier for you to see. But keep in mind this can be sized however you want, just normal sizing. And so we've got this is broken into a couple of pieces here. That we've got a primary window here, and that's where the current active chart is being displayed. And in this case, it's payables aging. And then there's a secondary window down here that shows what's coming up. Based on the metrics that I've chosen, this is the next one in line. So here's year-to-date sales by state, and so it's just based on the order that I've put them in. Now notice I can put this in a slideshow mode. So I can start or pause my slideshow just by clicking that. I set the rate at which it moves to the next slide. I think I have mine set for 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds it's going to move on to the next slide. And I'll let it go ahead and move before I, there we go. So you can see. Now there is a full screen mode that you can use as well. Well, actually, let's do this first. Let's look at dashboard mode. So they call this split mode, dashboard mode. And so here I can see all the dashboards, and I can resize my window if I want and get those to line up however I want them to be. If I want, one and then a long line instead of having it go across the bottom, I can do that. I can also do a full screen mode. And this is a really nice way if you've got a break room or out in the warehouse or a call center or someplace where you want to display metrics that are being updated frequently. I think the lowest refresh rate that you can have is 5 minutes, so that's the quickest that you can have it. So every 5 minutes you'd see updated metrics about whatever department it is you've got this screen scrolling through. So, and this is the full screen mode. Now I'm just going to take it back into, we're going to go back into split mode here. So for each of these metrics and key performance indicators that you see, I'm going to just kind of scroll through and find the one I want here. I'm going to turn off my slideshow too here. For each of these, there are actions that I can take. So you'll notice as I move into this top portion, I get these little buttons here on the left. This first one just gives me information about the report, where it's coming from, when it was rendered, so when it was last updated, and what company is being affected by that report. And that will go away eventually. It'll just kind of fade out here in a couple of minutes. I can also view the report, and that's what this little magnifying glass is. So I'm going to just click on this. And you can see it's taken it out into a browser now. It's the SSRS report. It's SQL Reporting Services reports. And now I can start interacting with this. I can drill in. Now keep in mind, in this scenario, I don't have to be a GP user. I don't have to have a GP user license. I'm able to see all of this information from GP, but I don't have to have a GP user license in order to do what I'm doing right now. As someone who's analyzing this information, what I'm looking for is exceptions. And I can see a big exception here in April. We can see our cash position tanked. So what I'm going to do is click on that, and now it's going to take me to a summary of my cash account. So this is a summary of the total of all of my cash accounts. So the debits and credits for cash in my operating account and my payroll account. Now from here, I can expand this, and I can look at the details. Now I could drill into the general ledger account if I wanted to. I can also look at these transactions and try and figure out why there's such a large decrease in my cash position. I can see that there are lots and lots of credits here, so lots of cash coming out of my account. Now this next click that I make requires a GP user. So keep that in mind. If I'm not a user, this is where it stops. And you could obviously add additional information to this report if you wanted to. But if I'm a GP user, I can click on that journal entry, and you'll see at the bottom, I can see pretty clearly this is a payables check. I can go back and look at the check as it was recorded in GP. So this is the payment record in GP. I can look at how it was applied. So I can see all of the invoices that were paid by that particular check. And all the other things that we know we can do, redo the check stub, look at the distributions, whatever it is that I'm doing as I'm drilling into this information. So I can start with this high-level information and drill all the way back into GP. Now I'm going to close out of this. So that's drilling in. And there are different levels of drill down available. You can add drill downs to reports if you want. So you really, the sky's the limit on what's available to you through these metrics and key performance indicators. If I have the proper permissions, I can edit this report. So you want to be careful with that. Obviously, you don't want people in. The goal of having these KPIs and metrics is to have one version of the truth. So you don't have people going out creating their own reports, dropping numbers into Excel, and coming up with different results. This gives everybody one version of the truth. So you don't want to have a lot of people that are able to go in and modify your reports. You want to have some control over that. And you have to know what you're doing too. I mean, that's something that's kind of a given. You have to know how to use the tool. I can also copy this report image. So I'm just going to push that button here. In situations where you have to do, board reports and things like that, actually, let me bring up my slideshow and exit out of it. You can just come in here and paste that right into a PowerPoint if you need to. And then, normal PowerPoint from here, you can size it and do whatever it is you want to do. But so you could copy this into a Word document, into an email, into whatever it is you want to do in order to communicate the information or share the information. Now I can also kind of along that same line, I also have the ability to, and I don't have this active right now, but if I'm using Link, Microsoft Link, I can actually add contacts to a particular chart. So for this cash position, maybe Cindy is someone who I talk to about this cash position. I can easily, if I have Link loaded and have her as a contact on this, I can easily go in and have a conversation about this particular metric. I don't have to go, dig information out. I can have it right at my fingertips. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is how we get information into Business Analyzer. And so I'm going to come up here to the GP icon here, and I'm going to go. Now, keep in mind, I can access other. I can use the application menu here to change the way I'm viewing information and filter by company or series. So remember, GP uses the series concept. What I'm going to do, I can also reload all my reports if I want to. I'm just going to come into options because this is where we tell the system how we want to communicate, exactly what it is we want to do. So first of all, I've got some user preferences here. How often should I change the slide when I'm doing a slideshow? I have it going every 15 seconds. How often should reports be refreshed? You know, I have mine, I refresh them manually, but you can have it as little as every 5 minutes. And then the sizing in the dashboard mode. So remember, the dashboard mode was where we had them all lined up, and so you could have them. Mine were really small, but maybe I want to have them a little bigger. I can go ahead and make that change here. The real functional part of this, though, happens in this report selection area, and I'm going to just make this full screen because I think it's a little easier to see. You have the option of using a detailed folder view, and I actually prefer that myself just because I think it's easier for me to see, have it organized by company, but that's just my preference. But here are all of the companies that I have in Dynamics GP, and these are really folders that my reports are being placed in as they're being generated. So when you deploy your SSRS reports, it's going to put them in a folder based on the company. And all of my company information is 2, so that's who I'm going to pick here. And let's just go to sales. And these are the operational reports. Those show up as well. But it's the charts and KPIs that I think you know, are best suited for this particular tool. So let's do top customer balances. So I'm going to put that one. I'm just going to insert it, and you can see it's going to be inserted at the bottom. I could move it up if I wanted to. So if I highlight it, I could move things up and down if I want. And I can also. There are some multi-company reports as well that come out of the box. So I'm going to go to sales here, and let's do sales per month. Now keep in mind, I could have checked these all at the same time and just done an insert. Just for ease of communication, I chose to do them individually. But now those top customer balances and sales per month are going to appear in my Business Analyzer desktop. We'll just let that refresh here. All right, so here's the top 10 customer balances. Again, same sort of actions that I can take against that. And it's going to take just a minute here. There it is. Total sales for the past 12 months for all of the companies in my GP system. Now keep in mind that I can come in here and if I want to, I can change the companies that I'm working with, and I can also change the date. So if I wanted to do this for a different date, I could go ahead and make that change here as well. All right, so that is Business Analyzer Desktop, and I'm going to pause for just a second and see if we have any questions. Cindy?
We do. We have one question.
Okay.
We have, can you limit the drill down availability to users in GP Business Analyzer Desktop?
Yeah, it's all about who has access to what reports. So yes, you can just not give them access to the drill down.
That is all we have for right now.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move on here. I'm going to close Business Analyzer Desktop, and we're going to talk about using Business Analyzer inside of Dynamics GP. And I actually have a question for all of you. If you use the navigation list functionality in Dynamics GP, can you please click the Raise Your Hand button on the GoToMeeting toolbar if you use navigation lists?
And Tammy, while we do that, we do have another question.
Okay.
How is desktop installed?
It's an install that you put on each person's desktop that you want to be able to use it. It's just an executable file that gets installed, and then you point it to wherever your SSRS reports are stored.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone that's using navigation lists?
I don't show any hands raised, no.
Okay. All right, good. So we'll talk a little bit about a navigation list as well and what it is and what it does in just a minute here. I want to talk about Business Analyzer on our home page first. And so, again, I'm using GP 2013, so keep that in mind. If you're using 2010, it might look a little bit different. So I've got Business Analyzer showing on my home page, and the way that I got it there is under this Customize This Page. And you can see I've got a checkbox here for Business Analyzer. Now I've got it set to show up in one little pane here, and I can scroll through the metrics that I've loaded to be visible in my on my home page. One thing I want to point out here is this cash position report. This is the exact same metric. It's the exact same thing as what we saw on desktop. One version of the truth. Everybody's accessing the exact same information. So I'm going to come back here to customize this page, and I'm going to click Show All just to show you what happens here. So I have several of these charts loaded here. And so I've said now Show All, and you can see if I come down here to the bottom, I can get down there. There we go. I've got all of these here, and in GP 2013, I can move them up. I can, I can reorganize them. I can do whatever I want with them. I could move this one down if I wanted to. I actually like all of my windows to be even. I'm picky like that, so I like to have everything, 4 equal squares. So I just scroll through then and look at them. But you could have them all showing at once on your home page if that's what you choose to do. Keep in mind, I'm going to hover over the top here. Here's those same buttons that we saw. Show report information, view report. So just like we saw with Business Analyzer Desktop, I can take that same report out, and it's doing the exact same thing in the exact same way. Same functions, everything's the same. So we've already done this, so I'm not going to go through the whole process again. And the ability, if you have the permissions to edit the report, to copy, and then to change the date in the report as well. Incidentally, in GP 2013, you do have the ability here, in addition to showing all of your metrics, on your home page, you can actually make them large and enlarge actually any of these, any of the areas on the home page. So if you wanted to enlarge it and make this your home page, you could certainly do that as well. So I'm just going to put that back. So that's the way that that Business Analyzer works on my home page. But there's a much deeper and richer experience that you can have with the Business Analyzer if you're using navigation lists. And so I'm going to come, in my example here, I'm going to go to Sales. So I'm just going to click on that Sales button. And this is my area page. And I'm the administrator, so I have access to everything, but users would only see what they have access to. And if I move down one here into this Customers area, this is where I have access to my navigation lists. What these are is it's a list of records in GP. Now in this case it's customers. And what it's going to allow me to do is interact and take action on information that's presented in this navigation pane. And what you can do here is you can filter, and you can actually save filters, which is what I've done here. And we're going to actually look at ways that you can interact with this information. So I've got customers whose balances are greater than $50,000. Might be important to know. So you can see this looks a little bit different than what we saw before. Incidentally, on these, I can just double click and it'll take me in this case to customer maintenance. I can also, this is one really valuable use for your navigation list, is I can filter. So I've got customers with balances over $50,000, and I can just kind of randomly pick out different ones here, and I can generate a trial balance for these, for only those customers that I chose. So 4 of them. And there they are. So what you've got is you've got a non-consecutive range. Not only have I filtered this for customers over $50,000, but then I've just picked specific customers within that group. So what that means is you're not tied to the ranges that you have to use, the consecutive ranges that you have to use in when you're doing a report option. I can't tell you how many reports I would have to print to isolate these 4 here. It would be multiple reports, probably 4 different reports actually, to get at the information the way that I got at it here. So I'd have to print 4 separate aging reports. So that doesn't really have anything to do with Business Analyzer, but just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do. And we're going to be doing some of the actions up here in just a second here. So what I want to do here is I want to uncheck all of those boxes, and we're going to come back up to just the first one on the list here. Now you can see Business Analyzer. This is Business Analyzer. It's embedded in the navigation list. So again, we've got those same functions that we had before. Now, GP knows what reports to use based on the folders that they're in. So in the Metrics and KPIs folder, under Sales, which is where I am, under Fabricam, which is 2, that 2 folder, when I access my customers, that's what it's going to pull, is those metrics that are in that folder that relate to customers. And you can see here there's 4 of them, and you can add more. So I have receivables aging by customer, total sales for the past 12 months, top 10 items by sales quantity for this customer, and then top 10 items by sales amount for this customer. And I say for this customer for a reason, because I can choose all my customers if I want. So everybody that's over $50,000, that's what their aging looks like. Looks like most of it's current. I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. I can look at total sales for the past 12 months. If any of you have watched any presentations that I've done in the past, all of my data is in April of 2017. So that would make sense that most of my sales have been in April of 2017. And then, you know, by top 10 items by sales quantity, and then top 10 items by customer, by sales amount. So there we go. So you can pick, and you know, I'm not limited to picking all. I could pick any 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever it is that I want to be able to analyze this information. So I can use this to take action on things as well. So for example, if I look at Vancouver Resort Hotels, I can see that they're $59,000 and change balance, and it's all over 90 days. I might want to do something about this, and I can continue researching here saying, well, their sales, they're continuing to have sales. I'm in April, and they had sales in March, you know, sales in January, et cetera. So what I might want to do is stop them from buying just by, I'm going to check the box next to them, and you can see up here at the top, I'm able to apply a customer hold here directly from my navigation list. So here's a perfect example of where I've used that contextual business intelligence to make a decision. I've made the decision that Vancouver Resort Hotels is not going to be able to place an order. And now I've applied the hold. I'm going to refresh my list here. And you'll be able to see there's a visual cue that will be displayed showing me very clearly that this customer is on hold. And I'm just going to choose this delete button to get rid of the information in that ribbon. So perfect example of using this business analyzer information to be able to make a decision. I decided Vancouver Resort Hotels is not going to be able to place an order. All right, so I'm going to pause again for questions.
We do have a couple. The first one is, how does it differ from the metrics on the home page? Same SSRS info?
Exactly. Exactly the same. One thing I didn't show you that I probably should have, let me go back to my home page here. Show you how to add reports to your home page. I'm just going to change details. So I click on the pencil, and here's all of my available reports. I just pick one and add it to the, insert it into the list. Simple as that. And again, it's looking at all of the charts and KPI folders for Fabricam. So it's looking at that structure when I deploy my SSRS reports or add new ones.
Okay. And then the second question we had was, how do I add or delete KPIs in the navigation list?
There's a couple of things that you can do. One thing you can do is just through SSRS security, revoke permissions for a user for a report. You can remove all of this if you want. You can say, I don't want to see this, just by coming up here under this little drop-down and choosing Show Hide and removing Business Analyzer. So if you don't want it there, take it off. There are times when it's probably not appropriate. But in this example, I think it's really appropriate because it really gives you a good view of what's going on. Where it might not be appropriate is it in your accounts area. So if you look at posting accounts, this is just a filtered list that I have. If you show the Business Analyzer here, there's not much there. It's showing you the account balance. So, not much. It's not telling you much there. So maybe you don't want to have that there, and that's the reason I took it off here in this particular. But the idea is you can personalize this so that you're using it the way you want to use it. Any other questions?
We do. We have another one. If you are using analytical accounting, can you filter using items in analytical accounting or within the navigational list?
I don't know that I understand the question completely.
Let's see. We have kind of a couple different versions. The first, if you are using analytical accounting, can you filter using items in analytical accounting?
So if you have a list created, a navigation list created, you can, and you can use Smart List Builder. One of the components of Smart List Builder is the navigation list builder. So you could potentially build a navigation list with analytical accounting information in it. I don't know for sure what it would take to do that. Analytical accounting is kind of broad, and so I don't want to, probably need to dig in a little bit more and understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. And the second question was kind of the same. If you are using analytical accounting, can you filter using items in analytical accounting within the navigation list? Yeah,
and again, we'd want to understand a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. We do have another question. You displayed 4 separate KPIs in your customer example, can you add or delete these KPIs, i.e. add a fifth KPI or delete the second KPI?
Yeah, so it's about the key field, right? So the key field in each one of these is the customer. And so if I create a new one, drop it in that folder, key field is customer, it's going to show up here. Again, we talked earlier about if you wanted something not to be there, you could remove it from the folder, put it somewhere else if you just didn't want it there anymore. Or you could use security. So if you want some people to see it and some people not, you can manage that through security. And it's the same security that you would use to manage your SSRS reports. These are SQL Server Reporting Services reports. That's what they are.
Okay, and then to, I think, add to the last question, I think we're getting clarification as this client or this customer has departments within analytical accounting, and they can use navigational lists to determine vendors, or can they use navigational lists to determine vendors and or customers by department?
It would be something that you'd have to create. You might be able to do it with a navigation list builder. I don't know that that's the best tool for the job to get the information that you want to get. I don't know. Still would need to understand a little bit more detail. But it's possible using, it's not going to be, a straight out of the box. It's going to be using the list builder component of Smart List Builder.
Okay. Another question that we have, if I want to show a report with sales and purchase information, how do I do this?
A metric a metric, you would have to, scope what you wanted to appear on the report and create it using SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services. So it's just a normal report. It's all about how it's presented. In this example, it's presented, using some arrows showing and some color conditional formatting based on, the value of the in particular fields. But it's just a normal report writing function. You have to scope the report, figure out what it is, exactly what it is you want to see, determine the tables you're pulling it from, and then how you want the output to be viewed. I think we're here with additional questions. So any other questions, Cindy?
Nope, that's it for right now. If you would like to ask any additional questions, please do so in the questions box, and we'll get those answered for you. While we do that, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have Aspire coming up on October 9th in Columbus at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. It will be a great day of networking and learning. We have a lot of great sessions planned, so make sure to register. You'll find all the details and a full agenda on the website. And of course, if you need additional information, you can also reach out to your account manager. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. Maybe give it another second.
Yep. I'm actually going to back this up one. If you want to contact Cindy or I directly with any additional questions, feel free to do so.
Absolutely.
If we can't answer them, we'll get them to the right people.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any other questions at this time.